Crash landing. The desert was endless. 2 suns burned the sky. The air was dry like fire. Sand stretched in every direction. There was no tree, no water, no life. Jack slowly opened his eyes. His helmet was cracked. His lips were dry. His body hurt all over. Around him, smoke rose from the broken pieces of his spaceship. He didn't remember the crash, only the alarm, the fire, and the darkness. He sat up, breathing heavy. "Where am I?" he whispered. His suit's computer blinked red. Oxygen, low. Water, almost empty. Signal, lost. No connection with Earth. No rescue. Jack stood up and looked at the desert. No cities, no machines, no people. He was alone. He checked. His bag. 1 bottle of water, some energy bars, a broken comm device, and his old pocket knife, his grandfather's gift. He started walking, step after step. The heat made his head spin. His boots sank in the soft sand. After 1 hour, he saw something. Moving. At first, he thought it was a mirage. But no, it was real. 3 figures in the distance. He squinted. One was tall. The other 2 were smaller, crawling. He walked faster. His legs shook. As he came closer, he froze. They were not human. The tall one was a girl, alien, blue-skinned, with silver eyes. Her hair was like flowing fire. She was holding a creature in her arms, like a mix of a dog and a fox. Another one was lying beside her, breathing hard, its tongue dry and hanging out. The pets were dying. The girl looked at Jack with fear. Her eyes scanned his suit, his face, his hands. She didn't speak. She just stood in front of her pets like a mother protecting her children. Jack looked at her, then at the creatures. Then he reached into his bag and pulled out the water bottle. He hesitated. It was all he had. 1 sip could keep him alive a little longer. Maybe enough to find a rescue signal. Or maybe not. But these animals were innocent. And they were dying right in front of him. He looked at the girl. She didn't beg. She didn't speak. But her eyes, they screamed. Jack slowly knelt down. He opened the bottle. He poured some water into the cap. One of the creatures sniffed it. Then it drank, fast, desperate. The second one lifted its head weakly. Jack gave it more. It drank too. The bottle was half empty now. He handed it to the girl. She looked at it, then looked at him. "Drink," he said. She didn't move. He smiled, weakly. "I guess your pets needed it more." Suddenly, Jack's knees gave out. He fell onto the sand. His vision blurred. He was so tired, so dry. The girl ran to him. She spoke in her language. He didn't understand, but her voice was soft. She touched his face. Her hands were cool. The last thing Jack saw before passing out was the creature, licking his fingers. He woke up in a cave. It was dark. Cool. His suit was removed. His chest was bandaged. Someone had given him a blanket. He turned his head. The alien girl was sitting beside him. The 2 animals were sleeping near her legs. She looked at him with calm eyes now. Not fear, not hate. She spoke. Her words were strange, musical. "I don't understand," Jack whispered. She paused, then pointed at the creatures, then at the water bottle, then at herself. He nodded. "You're welcome." She pointed at him. "Who, man?" Jack nodded again. "Yes, human." She touched her chest. "Lyra." "Lyra," Jack repeated. "Nice to meet you." Lyra stared at him for a long moment. Then she placed something in his hand. It was a fruit. Alien, glowing faintly. Jack smiled. "Thanks." She didn't smile back. She looked at him, like someone who just saw something impossible. Why did he save us? Lyra sat quietly in the corner of the cave, her silver eyes locked on the human. He was still weak, lying on a bed of dried grass and warm stone. His face looked tired, but peaceful. She didn't understand him, not his language, not his actions, not his mind. Why would he give his last water? To pets. To her pets? Her people. The Zinari, called humans, dangerous, selfish, creatures of war. Even their children were told stories of human betrayal, how they once came to this planet in metal ships trying to take the resources. They brought fire, machines, death. But this human, Jack, he gave up his survival. For what? 2 half-dead desert crawlers? She looked down at the animals. They were her bonded companions since childhood, like family. They would have died without water, but now they slept peacefully, their bodies healing. Jack moved slightly. He groaned. Woke up. His eyes opened, and for a second they darted around, confused. Then they found hers. He smiled. Even now? Still smiling? You're still here, he said weakly. Lyra tilted her head. Who, man? She said softly, unsure if she said it right. Jack nodded. Yeah, that's me. She pointed at his chest. Jack. His smile grew. You remembered. She pointed at herself. Lyra. Lyra, he repeated. Beautiful name. She didn't understand the words, but the tone felt kind. A soft growl came from the cave entrance. Lyra turned quickly. 2 Zinari warriors stepped in. Tall, armored, serious. One of them had a spear made of glowing crystal. The other wore a face of suspicion and anger. They saw Jack and raised their weapons. Thar vunaka tel human, one shouted. Jack tensed, sensing danger. Lyra stood in front of him. She spoke, fast in her language, her voice sharp and commanding. Nahi, usne meri jaan bachaye, mere saath hi bachaye, the warriors argued. Their tone was harsh. Jack tried to sit up but groaned in pain. One warrior stepped closer, spear pointed at Jack's chest. Lyra growled. Hath Nichikaro. Abi. Silence. Finally, the warriors backed off, but their eyes were filled with doubt. One of them pointed at Jack, then at the sky. Human signal. Others will come. Then they left. Jack looked at Lyra, confused. What was that? Lyra sighed. She knelt beside him and took his hand. He was surprised. Her hand was warm now, not cold like before. She placed her other hand on her heart. Trust. Then she pointed at him. Why? Jack thought for a moment. Then he whispered, because life is life. Doesn't matter where it's from. Lyra didn't understand all his words, but she felt the weight in them. Later that night, Jack sat by a small fire. Lyra gave him more fruit. The pets curled up beside him, their heads resting on his lap. He laughed softly. You guys made me the alien dog sitter, huh? Lyra sat across from him, watching silently. For the first time in her life, she questioned what she had been taught. Could it be that not all humans are monsters? She reached into her pouch and pulled out a small cube. A translator tech. She activated it. The device blinked, then buzzed. Jack looked curious. She pointed at it. Talk. Jack hesitated. Hello? The cube translated. Greetings, Lyra replied in her own language. The cube repeated. Greetings. Jack's eyes lit up. We can talk. The translator buzzed again. Lyra smiled a little. Just a little. She asked slowly. Why give water to my animals? Jack paused. Looked at the fire. Because I know what it feels like. To need help and have no one give it. Lyra looked into his eyes. For the first time, she saw not a human, but a soul. Someone broken. Someone kind. And that scared her more than any weapon. Alien Sanctuary. Jack followed Lyra through the winding canyon path. His steps slow, his body still weak. The twin moons hung above them now, casting a pale glow over the red rocks. The alien pets walked beside him like silent guards. He didn't know where she was taking him. He only knew one thing. He wasn't safe yet. The deeper they went, the more alive the desert became. Strange, glowing plants hung from cave ceilings. The air was cooler here, fresher. Somewhere, water flowed underground. Finally, the path opened into a massive, hollowed-out mountain, a hidden city inside the rock. Jack stopped in awe. Dozens of blue-skinned Zenari moved around. Fires lit their homes. Children laughed in the shadows. Creatures with long tails climbed walls like cats. Everything felt ancient, alive, protected. But the moment the people saw Jack, everything stopped. Conversations froze. Torches flickered. Heads turned. Then the whispers began. Who, man? A spy? Why is he here? Lyra stepped forward. She raised her hand high and shouted in their language, "He saved my bonded ones. He gave his own water. He is not enemy." But no one smiled. No one clapped. Instead, an elder stepped from the shadows, tall with silver robes and eyes like ice. "You bring danger into our sacred home, Lyra," the elder said. His voice was calm but cold. Lyra stood firm. This human gave without asking. He nearly died. That proves his soul. The elder looked at Jack like he was disease. One act does not clean a bloodline. Jack didn't understand their words, but the tone, he felt it like knives. "Lyra," he whispered. "I don't think I'm welcome here." She looked at him and gave a small nod. "You're not," she said plainly. "But I brought you anyway." They brought Jack into a stone chamber, round and empty, except for a glowing fire pit in the center. Guards stood at the door. He sat, alone. No weapons, no food, just questions. An hour passed, then 2. Finally, Lyra entered. Her face was tense. "They want you gone," she said. Jack leaned back. "Figures. They think you are the reason the drought is getting worse." He blinked. "What?" Lyra sat beside him. Her voice was quiet. "Your people came to our world long ago. They cut trees, built cities, stole minerals. Then they left. The land changed after that. Became dry, angry. Our elders say the humans cursed us." Jack ran his fingers through his hair. "That wasn't me. I know, but they don't care." Silence. Then Jack looked up. "Let me do something. Let me fix something for you." Lyra tilted her head. "Fix? I'm an engineer. Machines. Tech, maybe I can help?" She studied him. "You'd help the same people who want to throw you out?" He shrugged. "Your pets didn't hate me. You don't hate me." She was quiet. Then, slowly, she stood. "There's an old water core," she said. "A machine built by your kind. It's broken. Nobody has fixed it for many cycles. Take me to it." The next day they walked to the ruins on the edge of the sanctuary. A giant machine lay under rock and vines. It looked like a massive metal flower, closed shut and rusted. Jack stared at it with awe. "This is old Earth tech, like 100 years old." He moved close, pulled out tools from his emergency kit, checked panels, opened a hatch. Inside, the wires were burnt. The coolant system was cracked. The core was leaking energy. "This was built to clean water," Jack said. "If I can get it running, it might help your people." "But what do you need?" Lyra asked. Jack stood up. 3 things: time, parts, and protection. "I don't think your people like me playing with their history." She gave a small smile. "They don't." Then she touched her blade. "But I'll protect you." That night, as Jack worked under the moons, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. Not for a mission, not for money, but just to help. He looked up and saw Lyra watching him, the 2 pets asleep at her feet. "Why are you really helping us, Jack?" she asked. He didn't look up. "Because I've destroyed things before, and I want to fix something now." She didn't say anything back, but she didn't need to. The desert wind carried his words into the stars. Test of trust. The sun rose red over the rocks. Jack wiped sweat from his face. His hands were black with oil, and a deep cut stung across his palm. He hadn't slept. The machine, the ancient water core, was still dead. He had taken it apart, studied its heart, rewired half of it. But it wasn't enough. 3 days. That's all the council gave him. 3 days to fix the human-made water system, or they would hand him over to the outer patrol, Zenari soldiers who hunted trespassers, and if the patrol got him, he'd be executed on the spot. No trial, no mercy. Jack looked at the sky. Day 1 was gone. Back in the cave village, the elders argued around the sacred fire. "He is a threat," one snapped. "We are trusting our survival to a creature who once brought war." Lyra stood in the middle of them, unshaken. "He gave his last water to animals not even his own. Does that sound like a killer to you? Or a trickster?" The elder replied. "Humans are good at pretending, until they strike. Then give him a chance to prove it." The oldest elder, a woman with eyes like glass, raised her hand. "He has 3 cycles, nothing more. If he fails, the sky guards will take him." It was decided. Jack's fingers moved fast. He scavenged parts from old drones, melted metal plates, reconnected coolant pipes using vine fibers. Lyra helped where she could, translating alien symbols and bringing food. The pets guarded the cave entrance like loyal soldiers. Jack turned to her. "You sure your people are okay with me using this stuff?" Lyra hesitated. "They're not." He smirked. "Cool, so I'm making peace and breaking laws at the same time." She smiled slightly. "Very human of you." On the second night, strange sounds echoed through the canyon. Jack paused mid-repair. "Did you hear that?" Lyra moved to the cave mouth. Her eyes narrowed. Footsteps, fast ones. She pulled her blade. Then, boom. A blast shook the earth. The water core's outer shell cracked. Jack screamed and dove forward, shielding it with his body as rocks and metal flew. When the dust cleared, Lyra was already running outside. She came, back 2 minutes later, furious. "Someone planted a fire crystal bomb," she hissed. "Someone doesn't want the core fixed." Jack coughed, wiping blood from his cheek. "Your people really don't trust me, huh?" She didn't answer, but he saw it in her eyes. Even she wasn't sure anymore. Day 3 began with silence. The whole village watched from the cliffs above as Jack limped back to the core. His left arm was burned. His tools were damaged, but he didn't stop. He worked with his teeth if he had to. Tightened bolts with bare hands. Pulled apart wiring like it owed him a life. Lyra stood by his side, holding the blue glowing energy, crystal he needed for the final ignition. "You know," Jack whispered, "I don't even know if this will work." "But you still try?" He nodded. "Always." She placed the crystal in his hand. The core pulsed. The machine hummed, then roared. Blue light surged through the pipes. Steam hissed from the vents. A distant clang echoed like thunder. Then, a miracle. Water, clear, cold water, rushed out of an ancient spout into the dry reservoir. The villagers gasped. Children cried. Warriors lowered their weapons. Jack collapsed to his knees, chest heaving. He did it. That evening, the council stood before the people. The old woman raised her hands. "The outsider has done what we could not in 100 moons. He has earned trust, not through words but through work." But another elder growled, "Or maybe he just delayed our end. This doesn't make him one of us." Jack stood beside Lyra, soaked in sweat, bandaged but smiling. "I don't want to be one of you," he said. The translator buzzed. The people listened. "I'm just here to help. After that, I'll leave. You owe me nothing." That simple line hit harder than any speech. Later, when the fires calmed and the stars filled the sky, Lyra sat beside Jack. "You passed the test," she said. Jack looked at the glowing lake in the distance, now filling drop by drop. "No, he whispered. I just bought time. She tilted her head. Time for what? He turned to her. To find out who tried to kill me. Sabotage, the water flowed again, but peace did not. In the canyon city, people whispered behind closed doors. Some stared at Jack with new respect. Others stared with something colder. Fear. Or hate. Jack had repaired the ancient watercore. The river now filled again. The plants began to bloom. The land breathed. But something was wrong. Very wrong. Jack stayed in a stone shelter near the old machine. Lyra had insisted. It was safer here, away from the busy village. Still, he didn't sleep much, not after the explosion. Someone tried to kill him 2 nights ago. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an accident. It was a message. You don't belong here. That night, Jack sat by a dim lamp, checking the wiring on, the core again. His fingers moved carefully, but his mind was elsewhere. Questions kept spinning. Who planted the bomb? Why now, after everything he'd done? And worse, who could Lyra trust? A soft sound came from outside. Jack tensed. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. He grabbed the handle of a nearby metal rod, his only weapon, and moved to the entrance. Nothing. Then, crack. A shadow moved across the rocks. Jack stepped out fast. Who's there? Silence. Suddenly, a dart flew from the shadows, barely missing his head. He ducked, rolled behind a rock, heart racing. He saw a figure fleeing in the darkness, hooded, fast, disappearing into the cliffs. He ran after them. Jack chased the figure deep into a narrow cave. No lights, just echoes and the sound of fast breaths. Suddenly, a dead end. The figure turned around. Jack stopped, panting. They stood still, silent. Then slowly, the hood fell back. Lyra. But something was wrong. Her eyes. They weren't calm. They were wide, confused. Her body shook. Jack stepped closer. Lyra? What's going on? She didn't answer. Her hand reached toward her belt, pulling out a small black crystal, deadly when activated. Wait, what are you doing? But then another voice echoed behind him. No, Jack, that's not Lyra. Jack turned just in time. The real Lyra stood at the entrance of the cave, blade in hand, eyes full of fire. What the hell? Jack breathed. The fake Lyra shimmered. Then, her form melted like smoke. Her skin turned gray. Her eyes turned pitch black, a mimic, a shapeshifter. Before Jack could move, the mimic lunged, but Lyra was faster. She threw a glowing spear straight into its chest. The creature let out a high, screeching cry, then burst into dust. Gone. Jack stood frozen. What the hell was that thing? Lyra didn't answer immediately. She stepped forward, picked up the burnt remains of the mimic's crystal. That, she said, was sent by someone who wants you dead. Jack looked at the crystal. Why? Because you changed things, she whispered. Because now, people are listening to you. Later that night, they returned to the village. The council gathered. Jack held up the mimic's remains. This thing tried to kill me. Pretending to be one of you. The elders' faces went pale. That magic hasn't been used in generations, one muttered. It's forbidden. Illegal. Then someone is breaking your rules, Jack said, voice sharp. Someone who wants me gone. A silence fell. Then, Lyra stepped forward. It's someone inside this village, not a spy. One of us. The council refused to believe it, but the seed of suspicion had been planted. Outside, the wind howled through the canyons. Jack stood by the reservoir, staring into the water. Lyra walked up beside him. You all right? She asked. No, Jack said quietly. Because now I know the truth. She looked at him. This was never just about water, he said. It's about power, control, and someone here thinks I'm a threat to both. She nodded slowly. That's why you're still in danger. He turned to her. Then help me find out who they are. The human code rain. For the first time in years, soft rain touched the canyon floor. Not much, just a few drops, but enough to make the children dance, and the elders raised their hands to the sky. The water core had awakened the underground veins. The sky responded. Life was returning to the land. But Jack didn't smile. He sat alone, on the edge of the sanctuary cliff, watching the raindrops slide down his cracked helmet. His eyes weren't on the rain. They were on the village. Someone down there wanted him dead, and worse, they almost succeeded. Behind him, Lyra approached slowly. Her pets followed her, always quiet, always watching. Jack could feel her presence before she said a word. You haven't spoken to anyone in 2 days. Jack didn't answer. You didn't come to the celebration. Still nothing. So she sat down beside him. They watched the lights of the village flicker in the night. The rain made tiny rivers down the stone. Finally, Jack spoke. Back on Earth, I used to believe in good guys and bad guys. Simple. Clean. Like a child's book. He took a deep breath. But the truth is, people are just scared. Scared of change. Scared of being wrong. So they lie, hurt, kill. Lyra stayed silent. Jack looked at her. Your people don't hate me because of who I am. They hate me because of what I remind them of. She nodded slowly. You are the shadow of a war we never finished. Later, the council called a meeting. The mimic's attack could no longer be ignored, and neither could Jack's presence. We must find the traitor, one elder said. And what if it's you? Another shot back. The room exploded into arguments. Jack watched from the side, his arms crossed. Then he stepped forward. I don't know your politics. I don't care who sits in the high seats, but someone tried to kill me twice, not because of who I am, but because they knew I'd uncover something. He tossed a metal part on the table. The room fell silent. It was a tracking chip, Zainari made. I found this inside the water core, Jack said. It was sending coordinates off-planet. Whoever placed it was giving our location to someone else. A few elders gasped. One nearly collapsed. Lyra stood beside Jack. Her voice was sharp. Your own council was being watched. Your machines were spied on. And none of you noticed. Then she looked straight at the oldest elder. Unless someone let it happen. That night, Lyra and Jack sat near the cave fire. The pets curled beside them. I don't understand you, Lyra said. Suddenly, Jack raised an eyebrow. That makes 2 of us. No, I mean it. You've been hunted, hated, hurt, and still you keep helping us. Why? He leaned forward, poking the fire. My dad used to say, your character is what you do when no one's watching. He looked up, but here everyone's watching, and still I choose to help. Because I'm tired of being the villain in someone else's story. Lyra watched him carefully. Then she said something in her language. Soft. Gentle. What did you say? He asked. She smiled faintly. I said, maybe it's time we stop writing old stories and start telling new ones. The next morning, the sun returned. So did the fear. The Zinari patrol ship was spotted in orbit. Jack had triggered something when he fixed the core. Or maybe the spy chip had sent the final signal. Either way, soldiers were coming and they would not ask questions. The council gathered once more. We must surrender him, one elder said. Offer him to the patrol before they attack. Jack stood silently, hearing every word. Lyra slammed her hand on the table. You owe him your lives. Do not speak to your elders like that. I speak because the truth is quiet and none of you seem to hear it. That night, Jack packed his things. He was ready to leave. I'll go, he told Lyra. If it keeps them safe. But Lyra stepped in front of him. No, you don't run. Not this time. Then what do I do? She looked at him with fire in her eyes. You fight. Not with weapons, but with truth. Hope for two worlds. The sky was no longer quiet. A shadow passed over the canyon sanctuary, massive, cold, and made of steel. The Zainari patrol ship hovered like a silent predator. Its engines rumbled low, like thunder trapped in metal lungs. Everyone in the village stood still, their eyes turned upward, their hearts beating fast. This was it, the Judgment Day. Inside the council hall, the elders argued once more. Their voices were sharp, afraid. They will attack. We must offer the human before they fire. No time to vote, make the decision. Jack stood in the center, calm, but ready. He had already made his decision. He wasn't running, not this time. Outside, soldiers dropped from the ship like dark rain. Their armor reflected the sun. Their weapons glowed with deadly light. The commander stepped forward. Her voice was sharp and cold. Deliver the human, or be declared enemies of the High Zinari Guard. The villagers looked at Jack, even Lyra. He stepped forward before anyone else could speak. I'm here, gasps. Some reached for him. Others stepped back. The commander raised her weapon. You violated planetary security. You accessed forbidden technology. You are sentenced to death. Jack didn't flinch. Instead, he said 3 words, let me speak. The commander blinked. What? 1 chance. That's all I ask. The soldiers aimed at him. The villagers waited. The wind blew. And then, silence. The commander lowered her weapon. Speak. Jack stepped to the front, voice loud, eyes clear. I crashed here. I didn't come with a plan. I didn't come with a gun. I came with nothing but water. And I gave it away. He pointed at the 2 alien pets beside. Lyra, I fixed a system your ancestors left to rot. I bled for it. Almost died for it. Not because I wanted something in return, but because I could help. He looked around the village, then back at the sky soldiers. I know your history. I know humans hurt this world once. But I'm not them. His voice rose. Don't punish the future for the sins of the past. The commander stared at him. Her jaw clenched. Then she turned to Lyra. You defend him? Lyra nodded. Not because he is human, but because he is better than some of us. The pets stood beside her like proof. The commander looked to the village, then to the council, and finally, to the sky. She pressed a button on her wrist. The soldiers stood down. The ship began to rise. I will report your actions to the capital, she said coldly. You bought peace for now. Then she looked at Jack. I hope you're worth the risk. And just like that, they were gone. The sanctuary exploded in celebration. Children ran through the streets. Elders lit fires of peace. Musicians pulled out ancient drums that hadn't been played in years. But Jack, he stood on the edge of the canyon again, watching, thinking. Lyra joined him. You did it, she said. He shook his head. No, we did. She smiled. So what now? Jack looked up at the sky where the stars were beginning to peek through. I don't belong here, not forever. Lyra looked down, but he turned to her. I'll come back. She tilted her head. Why? He shrugged. Because this is the first time I felt like I was part of something real. She stepped closer. You gave us more than water, Jack. You gave us hope. Then quietly, she placed something in his hand. A stone, carved with the Zinari, symbol for home. Jack closed his fingers around it, and for the first time, he felt like he had one. The next day, a human scout ship arrived. Jack's distress signal had finally reached them. He hugged Lyra one last time. The pets nuzzled him like family. As the ship lifted off, Lyra looked up into the sky and whispered, Come back soon, strange human.